Now, deeper into space than ever before. Over 407,000 kilometres. And for humans, out of contact with the rest of the Earth for about 40 minutes. The commander of the Orion spacecraft saying the crew saw sights that no human has ever seen as the astronauts of the Artemis II mission cruised around the far side of the moon to reveal a lunar surface, which at the time was actually under cosmic bombardment, meteors pelting the darkened and heavily cratered lunar surface. Well, let's hear first of all from the crew.
To Asia, Africa, and Oceania, we are looking back at you. We hear you can look up and see the moon right now. We see you too. We will explore, we will build ships, we will visit again. We will construct science outposts, we will drive rovers, we will do radio astronomy, we will found companies, we will bolster industry, we will inspire. But ultimately, we will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
Yeah, some inspirational words there from the crew of the Artemis II mission. Well, we're going to talk now to section editor of Ciel and Espace, which translates as Sky and Space, Emilie Martin, who joins us now from Houston. Thanks very much for being with us on the programme. Great to have you with us. I mean, it's hard to know where to start with this. I mean, first of all, those images and those sounds, I mean, they're just incredible, aren't they?
Yeah, it was very incredible to be here to live that. As you can see, it's just a press room. It's empty now because I'm the only European doing a live stream at that hour. All the Americans are now in bed, but it was incredible. It was fully packed with people. And when the communication when they re-entered communication, it was really like a religious silence here. Everybody was waiting for them to acquire communication. It was a very amazing moment.
Yeah, how tense was that? Because there was 40 minutes, wasn't there, basically, when the Orion shuttle passed around the moon, meaning that for a while there was no contact at all with it.
Absolutely. That's because the moon was blocking all communication, so the deep space network was not able to acquire the data. So for 40 minutes, it was all blackout. But so it was tensed. But I was able to speak with one of the flight directors here in Houston, and we reporters asked him, "Are you nervous about what's going to happen when there's blackout?" And well, basically he said, not so much, because contrary to what happened during the Apollo missions, when the Apollo astronauts entered that blackout, they had to do a very important maneuver in order to, be on the right track to enter the lunar orbit because they had to orbit around the moon and eventually land on the moon. Whereas right now with Artemis, it's just, a loop. It's not an orbit around the moon. So it was just they were just relying on gravity, natural laws of physics. They didn't have to do any maneuver. So really nothing could happen to them. Of course, it was still, a moment of expectation. People were like, okay, it's now a reacquisition of signals. So everybody was quiet, but there were no danger or really, it was attention, not tension.
That's a nice way of putting it. They also went further than any human has ever gone before. I mean, there's no real point, is there, to going further, apart from obviously it shows a little bit more of space, I suppose, to the human race. But it's still a great milestone, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a very moving moment when they broke that record. Christina was shedding a tear because, of course, they were breaking the record for veterans of Apollo 13 mission. So they went a lot farther away, right? They went 406,000 kilometers away, as opposed to Apollo was 400,000 kilometers, but they were much further away from the moon. They flew over the moon at 6,500 kilometers, whereas the astronauts of Apollo were much closer, about 100 kilometers. So of course, they were closer to the moon, but they couldn't see the whole globe, the whole disk of the moon. And this is what the Artemis II crew, this is what they experienced. They could see the whole moon, and doing that, they so some parts of the moon that were never seen before by human eyes, especially the pole regions, the North Pole and the and the South Pole. So it's very interesting to have a human eye because, as the scientists keep saying here in Houston, human eyes are much better than machines, than spacecraft to appreciate the colors, the albedo, the luminosity. So the scientists were eager to learn about what astronauts had to say about those features.
Yeah, and those new images, of course, also mean, well, for a start, beautiful images, but also, presumably now, new science, because the scientists are going to be poring over those images, I imagine, to try and decipher what they can.
Yeah, absolutely. So they had a list of targets that they had to observe, that they had to focus on. Of course, the astronauts are no geologists, but they were trained to be, right? They followed a very specific course of several months of geology class, basically. They sat in class, they also went on the field in order to learn how to um, identify the feature and also describe them in the best way possible. Again, I had a chance to talk to the scientists here, and they say they were amazing students and they were very like enthusiastic, and everything was joyful when they learn how to do geology. So yeah, they it's of course it's a test mission. What they are doing in describing the feature and everything will bring science, but they mostly are, it's about testing for the next missions, hopefully, that will land on the moon and that will gather sample that would be a tremendous treasure to science.
Yeah, you talk about it being a test mission. As you say, the real aim here, I suppose, over the next few years is to go to the moon once again. I mean, what's the point to a certain extent? Because it's been, well, it's approaching now, isn't it? 60 years since man was last on the moon.
Well, yeah, it's an important question. What's the point? The idea of the Artemis program is not to plant a flag, right, on the moon. As NASA puts it, we're going back to stay. So the purpose ultimately of Artemis is to settle a base and learn how to work and to live in another on another planet. Of course, the moon is not a planet, but live and work in another celestial body, right? So this is what Artemis is about. So um, when they go eventually, when they land on the South Pole, they will learn to collect the water that might be there underneath on the bottom of the craters, and they could extract the water, use it to drink, but also to make fuel out of it. But of course, we have to say that the purpose also of the Artemis program is strategic. It's politics, right? Trump first Trump administration pushed that mission, and it's about reaffirming the leadership of America in space for sure.
Just finally, Emily, I mean, the whole world has been following this over the last few days. I mean, let's be honest, it's given the world kind of a bit of a vent to escape some of the other news of the moment. I mean, what's it like being there? You sort of briefly mentioned this earlier on, but being someone who's, fascinated and interested in space, I mean, it must be an incredible experience to be there to report on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was lucky to be here to cover those missions. You were right. I mean, of course, it's about politics, but it's also something we can be joyful about, right? So here in that room, you cannot see that right now because it's 3 a.m., but it was packed with journalists, packed with media. Everybody has a live stream story to tell, and yeah, it was very intense. Again, like I said, when the blackout started and when it was about to end with the it started with an earth set and ended with an earth rise, so it was really poetic, and it's an honor to be a little part of this amazing journey.